So I just proceed to just focus on Elle. We go up the ramp. We go down the slides. We cooked food together, in the little play kitchen. It was so magical.
Yeah.
And we went on the trampoline, and there's like a basketball hoop. And Elle gives me the basketball, and I'm like, you know how I have this weird thing I have to impress my children?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm going to make this hoop, and she's going to think I'm so cool.
It's almost traumatic, the way you have to impress your kids.
Yeah, it's not healthy at all.
It's almost like you thought to yourself, you know what? If I'm not going to make any friends out here, I'm going to make my own.
I'm going to literally create them.
I'm going to create my own friends.
So she hands me the ball, and she says, "Go, Daddy." And I'm like, awesome, cool. So I throw the basket. I like aim. I do the little jump. I make sure I follow through, and it totally bombs. And Elle looks up at me and she goes, "Daddy, that's why you're not a big boy."
Oh. Hey there, all you banter biscuits. Welcome to episode 37.
You forgot to say ho there. It's hey there, hi there, ho there.
Okay, so
Do I have to teach you everything?
I am not a dwarf that is going to be following Snow White around because I don't have a real job, okay? But what you guys could do for us is like and subscribe wherever you're listening to and give us a 5-star review so that we can be put around more on the internet.
Hi ho. Now dig into the episode for those diamonds. So I just took my daughter on a date recently.
Come again?
Yeah, so here's the idea. I want Elle to have self-value and self-worth.
That's nice.
So
how does one achieve this, by the way?
Well, I'm going to tell you how. Here's how.
Oh, okay.
So you take your daughters out on a date, starting when they're young, and you teach them how they should be treated. So you hold the door open for them. You tell them they're pretty, wipe their poop off their butts.
Yeah,
the normal stuff.
Yeah, I do that with my cats.
At a young age, we are teaching Elle that she's worth something. So I take her out on dates and I show her how she should be treated. I asked her where she wanted to go. She said she wanted to go to the playground. I looked outside at the foot of snow on the ground and said, "Absolutely, I will make your dreams come true."
Oh, boy.
So we ventured out into the cold and we found an indoor playground. It's called D&R Playground. It's in Sheffield Village, something like that. It's like a jungle gym thing with like ball pit. Like it's basically like the way that McDonald's used to be, but like 4 or 5 times the size.
Right.
And the parents can go inside with the kids. So I was like, "Oh, this is great. I'll go. I'll hold her hand, and we'll jump in the ball pit, and it'll be fun." So I walk in, and other than the other little boys in there, I'm the only male. So the first thing we see is the ball pit, and I'm so excited because I'm like, "Oh, I'll go swimming in the ball pit with my daughter. It'll be so cute." I'll be like, "Look, I'm disappearing, Elle," and then pop up and surprise her.
And she's like, "Oh, there you are."
Yeah. I'm envisioning this, and I look in the ball pit, and there is 5 women, like stay-at-home moms, in the ball pit in a circle with like their little tumbler coffees. Like, "Oh my God, you wouldn't believe what he did. He then he went to the garage and said he was going to fix it. Oh, he's such a dope." And I'm standing there and I'm just like, what have I done?
Yeah, you dive right in. Did you dive right in?
I waited until they got out.
I would have laughed. I would have laughed so hard. They're just there and they hear just like this trembling. They're like, "Oh, must be an earthquake." And slowly one of their like coffee mug starts rising up and it's just on your head. You're like, "Hi."
Yeah. And they all just pull out their whistles and start blowing.
Yeah.
But
and you're like, "Man, are we at a track meet or something? What's going on?"
I walk up to the side of it and I just look at them and they all turn at me at the same time, like all 5 of these women, and it's just this look on their face like, Can we help you?
And you're like, "Yes, you can."
And then I just walk away, and then I hear in the distance, they're like, "Oh my God, Cindy, you're such a ditz."
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you're so mean to that boy.
And I'm like, ugh.
They just call you a boy.
So I just proceed to just focus on Elle. We go up the ramp. We go down the slides. We cooked food together, in the little play kitchen. It was so magical.
Yeah.
And we went on the trampoline, and there's like a basketball hoop. And Elle gives me the basketball, and I'm like, you know how I have this weird thing I have to impress my children?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm gonna make this hoop, and she's gonna think I'm so cool.
It's almost traumatic the way you have to impress your kids.
Yeah, it's not healthy at all.
It's almost like you thought to yourself, you know what? If I'm not going to make any friends out here, I'm going to make my own.
I'm gonna literally create them.
I'm going to create my own friends.
So she hands me the ball and she says, "Go, Daddy," and I'm like, "Awesome, cool." So I throw the basket. I like aim. I do the little jump. I make sure I follow through, and it totally bombs. And Elle looks up at me and she goes, "Daddy, that's why you're not a big boy."
Oh. Daddy, that's why you don't play for the NBA.
Yeah. So I'm feeling great today. That's where I'm at. Where are you at right now?
So we have this is a positive story. We have a student at my school. She's in, the special needs class, and she's a wonderful, wonderful kid. And she always brightens up my day. Like we were doing clubs, and I do like a Star Wars club and all these different type of clubs. And she actually had to come in with a different club just for the time being until one of the rooms was ready. And I gave her chocolate cake.
Of course.
Because I was giving chocolate cake because I had chocolate cake for a potluck. I had chocolate cake to like all the kids
I was like, Seth, you cannot favor the students.
Yeah.
Give them special presents. That's not okay.
This was like after school. So this was like after school. Clubs were about to start. I had extra chocolate cake left over from like a staff potluck thing I was going to give to like the 10 members of my club.
Yeah. Cool.
And she was there and I gave her this cake and I thought we really had this awesome bonding moment. Like, sweet. Like she knows who I am, whatever. And then today she's walking in the hallway. I'm like, hey, I say her name. I'm like, how you doing? Like,
she's like, who are you?
Yeah. She looks at me. She's like, old man. And I immediately look, and one of my co-teachers is looking at me just nodding like, you are getting up there. Yeah. And I'm like, come on. Like I'm turning 30 in March. And then the other teacher who's like a few months younger than me, she's like, hey, am I old? And she looks at the teacher. She's like, no, but he is. Yeah. And I'm just like, okay.
It's so funny because you can't retaliate.
Nope. There was nothing I could do other than laugh and do like a goofy dance I do.
And the ironic thing,
and then cry.
Yeah. And then go cry.
And then go cry.
The ironic thing is that you could actually tear these students to shreds because of how intelligent you are. You could take them down and reduce them down to tears.
But that wouldn't be fun for me.
I'm sure it would be satisfying, but it's not appropriate.
What I like to do is I like to build and raise up every crop of students I get to the point where their self-esteem and their belief in themselves and their skills are super high.
And then squash back down the dumb ones.
And then tear them all down after that. I mean, why? Yeah. Jenga's not fun unless the whole tower drops.
Right. Yeah. Unless somebody's panicking that the walls are crumbling, you're not playing Jenga correctly.
Yeah. But I have such a great time on my job. I thought it was such a wonderful exchange we had today. But that was kind of my day. It's like, I'm here, I'm doing my thing, and someone's like, "Oh, you suck."
Yeah. Yeah. You're like, well, today was going fine. Yeah,
and I'm like, thank you.
We're doing a dual episode today because we both feel the same way and we've had the same experiences.
Yeah, we feel like we're awesome, and then someone totally brings us back down to earth and then buries us in it.
Yeah, it's even more stabby when it's your own daughter.
Yeah, I don't have one of those, but I can only imagine what it'll be like.
I wanted to be like, so what is a big boy? Can you help me understand this concept so I can achieve that, please?
I love how she tore you down. Like you pay taxes, you pay the water and electric and everything else, and your wife do. And she goes out, she's like, you're not a big boy.
Yeah. That's why you're not. Yeah. Because I can't make a shot. Her view of what a man should be is set, and it's unfortunate that it's not you. Yeah. I'm just trying to teach her. Because when she does start dating, when I tell her about men when she's 45 years old.
Yeah, because you know what they call someone who's not married at 45 years old?
A spinster?
No. A spinster is when you're like in your early to mid 20s.
Oh.
You're a thornback.
Oh man, that doesn't sound good.
You're a thornback.
Oh, I don't know why. I don't know how those words come together in that way, but I don't like it.
I don't know either. I was looking up stuff. I was watching Downton Abbey. They called somebody that. I'm like, what the heck is that? I'm like, oh.
Yeah. The Lord's 15-year-old daughter, they're just like, there goes the thornback of the manor.
Matthew, don't whisper that so quietly. We want her to hear us. And then it just says,
You want the words to sting a little.
next time on Downton Abbey, the Thornback takes a tumble.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, so we were sharing ideas about how to create content on a podcast. And I had half an idea. And Seth turned it into an agenda item. Do you want to talk about our shared experiences and then explain what's about to happen?
Yeah, so Garrett gives me this entire list of things we can put on a topic wheel, like a story wheel, and it's all about him.
I have so many stories. You have no idea. Biscuits, listen. I live a full life.
Obviously, you're not a big boy, so it's not that full.
I have a insane. I mean, you've been along this journey for 37 episodes. Like every single day, I have something that I can share on here, and there's 6 days of the week that I don't get to share things. so I'm trying to figure out how to chronicle these experiences. So I'm like, why don't we put them on a wheel and then they won't be forgotten?
Yeah.
Like the combs.
So Garrett gives me this list. He's like, hey, you want to start a story wheel? And he gives me like 4 ideas that he's had, and I'm trying to think of stuff I could add too. And one of the topics that completely jumped out to me was ramming my bike into a car. And I literally said, hey, I've done that. Yeah. And you're like, I've done that too. Let's talk about it. So right, you tell me, no, you go first. I want to hear your story.
I just told a story. Oh, you want me to go first so you can? Okay. All right. So this is in Australia. We bought a car for $1,000. It blew up the next week. And so I had to start biking back and forth to school. So sometimes it would get late because at my school we would serve at church for our grades.
Fun.
Yeah. So I'm coming back. I led a team of people who would install like 50-foot walls that would move in on tracks, and we could separate out the sanctuary into classrooms because it was a giant, enormous room. And sometimes it was kind of late because the Sunday night service would run pretty late when you're doing 2 or 3 of them. And so I'm biking home, and in the southern hemisphere, it's a different night sky. Like you look up and it's totally different, like constellations. Orion's not there. Like it's the Southern Cross. Ursa Major's not there. It's different constellations, and it's like a little bit brighter too. So I'm looking up at the night sky, and I'm just like, I'm biking, and like I've got the Australian like backdrop of Sydney back behind, like the glow of the city off in the distance, and then on this side it's like the rural wheat, blowing back and forth. And I
pictured two stalks of wheat and like overalls, like Jebediah, it's gonna be a great harvest this year.
And then my bike is just like,
yeah, it just crumples them immediately.
Yeah. So I'm like, wow, what a beautiful setting. I look up at the sky and I'm like, wow, I'm here in a totally different time zone across the international date line, like on the other side of the earth, down under, and like I'm looking up at the night sky. I'm at this great school that I've always wanted to go to. What a beautiful night. It's a warm breeze. God, you are so amazing. Like, you are so good to me. And look at what you've made. Like, this is so beautiful to be able to look at.
Yeah,
and I ran into the hood of a car.
And like any good night,
completely flattened out on the hood of the car, and my feet went over the top of my head and hit the windshield. And my bike just goes and falls on the ground. And I'm just laying there like this, upside down on the hood of this car with my feet on the roof. And I just sit there and I'm just like, and thank you so much for the wonderful...
And thank you so much for good insurance, God. Yeah. Was it moving? Was it moving?
No, it was
was somebody in it? Okay.
I was just an idiot. I was just looking up way too long.
Yeah.
Just not paying attention.
So I have a very similar story.
Okay, go.
I'm riding my bike in our neighborhood when I was a kid. I was probably like 15.
Already on the edge of my seat.
Excuse me as I sneeze. And I was...
You can't take out the sneezes. Now I have to go find a soundbite.
Yeah, that's good. I was going, and I was like, maybe I was like 13.
Is this on Lisa Way?
This was so the whole neighborhood, because Yeah, where that was, but it wasn't
Yeah.
Lisa Way, because Lisa Way, even though it wasn't like a square, once you round the curve, that became a new street.
Right.
Because, that's not how streets work. But it was going towards there. And I was riding, and I'm just looking at the houses going by, and I'm like,
Did you do the same thing I
I
did?
did.
Oh my gosh. Just not paying attention.
I'm like, guys, I learned something today.
And when you're 13 years old, your world is so full of wonder
yeah.
and imagination that there's so many different like things that could have been going through your head. Like Ninja Turtles are so cool.
I'm riding this bike, man, and I'm like looking at all the houses. I'm like, I'm so blessed, being 13, riding a bike, living in this neighborhood.
Got my whole life ahead of me.
Got my whole life.
Was that the sound of you jumping onto a car and using your BMX trucks to like grind down the side of it, like in the X Games?
I hit this thing so hard, dude. But as opposed to you, where like you went on the hood of it and like the bike, went on the ground and you're just like hanging backwards.
Yeah.
This was an SUV.
So you bounced off it and hit the fire hydrant.
I hit the back of this thing, and the whole bike went into my abdomen. Like it went,
oh no.
And I fell, and I'm like, oh.
Did you get the willy willies where your like stomach goes?
I'm like,
start to throw up.
I'm like, why, God?
He's like, I didn't do anything.
I was just praising you. And there's this giant, like, later
I was
on.
just praising you.
There's this giant, like, welt that will eventually be on, like, my abdomen for a few weeks. And there's this dent in the back of this car.
Oh, no.
And I was like...
Did you tell anybody?
And I said, all right.
Oh, no.
And my shoulder Reagan, as I call it, had an option for me. It's like an angel, but it was Ronald Reagan.
Okay. Shoulder Reagan.
He's like, well, son, you have two choices. You can go talk to the owner, or you can bike away.
He's like, Lord knows, in the economy that I've built, they can afford to fix it.
No matter what, Reaganomics wins.
And he just goes,
yeah, and he just disappears.
except his little American lapel pin is still there, and it just falls to the ground. It goes ding ding ding.
Yeah, and it just like rotates. And then I try to look at my other shoulder. I'm like, where's the other guy? And he poofs.
And
he's
it's
like,
Vladimir. What's the guy from Russia? Lenin.
I was gonna say it's William Henry Harrison. I'm like, what took you so long? He was like, I was only president for a month, and then disappears. I'm like,
He's like, make sure you wear your coat.
So I did what any reasonable 13-year-old would do. I got on my bike and I ran.
Of course.
And no one and no one knew. Yeah,
knows.
nobody knows. But yeah, I dented the back of somebody's car with my bike going probably 12 miles an hour, and I hurt myself pretty bad.
If you
it hurt so bad, dude.
If you wanted to rectify this, the journey would be so difficult, because not only would you have to go on Zillow and find when it was sold, you would have to go to public records and find out who owned the house. Then you would have to find them on Facebook and go track them down in Nevada where they live now.
I don't even know exactly whose house it was in front of, nor do I know what type of car it was. All I know is...
Yeah. So you have to like actually also search the family and be like, did you own a...
And they pepper spray my face immediately.
Yes.
Yeah. I honestly don't know what type of car it was. I don't know what color it was. All I know is that the pain that I felt was in the top 5 most painful things I've ever felt in my entire life.
There's no going back.
Yeah. It was awful, dude. So Garrett, believe it or not,
I believe it.
yeah, I knew you. I knew you.
Yeah, you. Thank you for giving me space for that
I was,
this time.
I was waiting for you. I
was going to be polite, and then you gave me space to be rude.
I'm so happy. I'm like, you know what? I'm feeling something coming up from him. I'm just going to let him get it out. Cincinnati, where I live, actually got a lot of snow.
Yeah, dude.
And
did you get over a foot?
I don't know.
You can measure it.
We got like a total of probably 7 inches throughout like
cool.
both snowstorms. So like it was 4 the first time, 3 the second time. And
okay, hold on, stop the episode. You're partly from Ohio, right? So you have some general chance of being honest with me.
You can't just stop the episode.
It's just for a minute.
Okay.
You like snow, don't you?
I like snow from December until the end of January.
I'll take it.
Once we
least you admit
start,
it.
yeah, once we start getting into February and March and even April, if it's snowing in April and I just have my like hot cup of whatever because I don't drink coffee, so hot cup of
Tea.
OJ, yeah, and I look out it's snowing, I'm just gonna be like, obviously not enough emissions.
I just feel like people in Ohio lie to themselves and to me about not liking snow because I feel like they secretly do, and then they'll complain about it, and then I'll like walk away from the conversation, and I swear in the background I hear like a high five.
It snowed pretty bad down here. This is actually the worst snow I think this area has ever gotten in like a few years.
Really?
That's what everybody
Interesting.
keeps telling me. And I believe it because being down here, it hasn't really snowed that much since I've been here. And that's why I've been loving it so much. But it snowed a lot. And all of a sudden Shelby were like, oh, we have to get shovels. And then we look and it's like, yeah, Amazon can deliver your shovels in T minus 8 days.
Yeah. Okay. 64 days.
Yeah. So, but we got a snowplow for free. So I was able to snowplow the driveway and everything. And the awful thing about our driveway is that it's pretty steep. So like,
Shout out to Phil. What's his name? Who gave you the snow blower?
Pat.
Shout out to Pat, not Phil. I was in the right letter.
Yeah, so we got a free snowblower, so I was able to like snowblow the driveway, but our driveway is pretty steep, so you know you snowblow, and if you don't like shovel all the stuff off like the top of it, once you're done, it'll obviously turn into ice,
Right.
Which is exactly what happened to us.
Okay.
So eventually, our shovels from Amazon came in, and yeah, that's a bad omen already, and it was one of those ergonomic dynamic economics Reaganomics handles.
Yeah.
Where it's like
You can grab it
it's like
many
this
different ways.
this is a handle.
Yeah.
Like, you know, one of those type of things.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can
yeah.
grab it different ways. And so not Christmas. I thought Christmas because I had to be at church. I had
Easily confusable.
Yeah, Christmas, church, Easter,
They're the same.
but not Hanukkah.
Yeah.
Which is so awful.
Not on
Like,
the list.
Yeah, not on the list apparently. So, you know, I was going to church this past Sunday or a few Sundays ago, I can't remember. And I'll tell you why. And I had to go and wake up in the morning, completely take the new snow off where there's ice below it, right? So at this point, it's just a mess. And I used one of these, you know, special shovels, and I'm out there and Shelby's sleeping.
Yeah,
It's like,
of course. Yeah.
It's like 5 o'clock in the
Get
morning,
ready.
5:30
It
in the
keeps
morning.
going.
Yeah. And I'm digging it out, and I'm just like, this driveway is so
Yeah.
steep.
You have only scratched the surface, my friend.
Yeah,
Like
legit.
Wait.
No.
Just fast forward 20 years from now, and when you have a tiger pit out front, and you're just 5:30 in the morning, you're just in the tiger pit getting clawed to death, and Shelby walks out, and she's like, "Oh, did you feed the tigers yet?"
Yeah. And my arm's gone, and I'm like bleeding out of the nub of my shoulder. I'm like, yeah.
And she's like, "Took you long enough."
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a husband's job. You wake up at 5 and you shovel the driveway, and they don't even reward you for it.
No, I got, oh, I didn't even know you're out there.
Yeah.
Comment.
Yeah.
And I'm doing that, and you say I'm not even scratching the surface because I wasn't. I was just trying to get all the snow off so I could get my car out eventually. And I'm taking care of it, and I'm going, I have my work boots on, and then a car is going by, and I'm like, oh, maybe I'm gonna wave. And then you literally hear the noise from like a Hanna-Barbera cartoon where my feet go whoop, 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 whoop,
Yeah.
and I fell.
Oh my gosh.
And dude,
Okay, hold on. Was it the completely your feet go out from underneath you and there's an inch of air and then you slam into the ground, or was it maybe if I like collapse on my knee first and then I topple over and then I fall into the bush?
You know
or was
how-
it like a wham on the driveway on your head?
you know how you lay on the couch on your side with your
Yeah.
feet? That's exactly what I was in the air.
Okay.
I was like, I'm like, huh? Like, you literally heard me accept it. Like, here I go.
So
And
it was one of those. Well, it was long enough in the air to know. Oh,
I knew.
This is going to hurt now.
I'm like, here I go. Shoulder first, then hip.
Yeah. Oh my
And
gosh, dude.
I laid on my shoulder. and I-
There's those falls that you kind of have hope. You're like, I can catch myself.
yeah.
And then there's ones you're just like, I'm done. I'm toast.
No,
Yeah.
I was in the air, and literally the song in the background was na 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 na. Yeah, and I'm just slowly going down, and I'm like, did I leave the stove on?
Yeah.
And I hit the ground, and I immediately hit the ground.
Say shovelnomics.
Yeah.
Economical handle.
Yeah, and I'm slowly falling, and the person in the car is just like slowly looking at me like, is he okay? And I'm falling, and I'm just looking at him with like this face like this, like
Yeah.
like
You just
accepting
connect
it but
eyes
angry.
for a moment.
Yeah. And I land on the ground, and I sit up like the Undertaker from the WWE. I'm just on my back, and I sit up just with my hips and my legs in front of me. Like Darth Vader after he's like got the suit on for the first time, they just rise him up. That's literally how I'm coming up. And I sit there. I don't even think the person driving by saw me. I'm pretty sure he saw somebody eat it, but I just sit up and I just throw my hands in the air like,
You
Really?
You don't even get the satisfaction of being the one to choose if it's revealed or not that you fell, because the person saw you.
yeah.
So that information is out in the world. You don't even get to decide, should I tell anyone about this?
Yeah, they saw me, but they didn't see me get up. They just kept going. So I fell and they drove by, and then I just get up and I'm like, they're gone. But but here I am. Like, I feel so
That's
silly.
so un-Ohio of them.
Yeah.
Usually people will like stop and like check if you're okay, and then
Well-
tell you all about the time that they fell, and then give you a Tupperware full of casserole, and then get in their car and leave.
It's because we're too close to Kentucky.
Yeah. They're just like, well, every man for himself.
You didn't help us in the Civil War, boy. Why should I help you in your driveway? Spits out of his car some chewing tobacco. Yeah. Somehow lands in a
spittoon.
A spittoon. And I'm just like,
So did you go upstairs and then like just be like, I quit? And
Oh,
then
no.
you get back in bed and Shelby's like, did you try to go and shovel the driveway at 5:30? And you're like, He's like,
yeah.
did you fall and destroy yourself? And she's like, give up and come back up to bed? All right, good night.
yeah, good night.
And then pats you on the back.
Yeah. No, that's not the end, Garrett.
Oh, okay.
So I get up.
There's more?
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
I get up and I'm
And then
like,
your car just slowly starts going
starts
forward.
going down. I'm like, how's this possible? It's in park. Yeah. And I go to the bottom of the driveway, you know, where the snowplow puts everything back into my driveway after I've already gotten it.
Right.
And I'm like, all right, sweet. Let me just dig out this part right here and I should be good to go. And I'm going to start at this deep part right here because there's a lot of like chunks of ice, you know, and big giant ice balls and stuff that I just need to go, you know, put in the lawn, whatever. I dig my shovel in and I go to lift it up and the shovel bends.
Next week on The Shovels of Amazon.
Yeah. And I'm just like, all
Mine
right.
didn't even have a handle.
I'm like, all right, let me retrace my steps.
Yeah.
And I look back and my
Snow
steps are
starts
just
falling.
Yeah, my steps are just going back up the driveway. I'm like, there they are.
Yeah.
No, but I'm just like, okay, snow, no shovels, need shovels.
Spent money on it.
Spend money. Spend money where? Spend money on Amazon to get the
I see
shovel.
where this
Oh, wait,
went
hold
wrong.
on. I see what happened. I see what happened.
Your shovel gave up on you, dude.
Yeah, and then my shoulder Reagan's just like, well, wouldn't be a problem if Gorbachev would just tear down this wall.
You should see the steel they're making over in the USSR.
Yeah. So, moral of the story.
That's awful, dude.
If you're going to buy,
does your snowblower have one of those little nozzle heads that you can turn?
yes, I have to crank it though.
Why was it not turned to the side so it blows into your lawn as you're going? Were you blowing it down the driveway?
No.
Forward?
No. So I didn't use my snowblower this time.
Oh, gotcha.
I was just trying to clear things out, and I was trying to get the end of the driveway that the snowplow put
right.
there.
So you push like the pile to the end of the driveway, and it kind of separates to the side, but not all of it gets in the shovel. It just pushes to.
So
pile.
the whole bottom of the driveway was covered because when
Yeah.
the snowplow goes by, it pushes everything to the
Right,
side,
right,
so
right.
back of my driveway.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So when I went to go put the shovel in, it bent.
Yeah.
And then I try to bend it back. I'm like, sweet, it's fixed. And then I go to do it, and it
cracked.
bends again. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
Yeah.
so moral of the story, kids, if you're going to buy a good shovel, go to Home Depot.
Don't go to Amazon. for
Don't go
important
to
things.
Amazon, guys.
The sad thing about COVID, and yes, there's a few of them.
Oh, really? Please,
things-
wait. Please tell me the few sad things about COVID, Garrett.
This is one of them.
Okay, I'm good. I'm ready.
You used to be able to choose crappy things on Amazon or go to a nice store.
Uh-huh.
Now, the stuff is everywhere.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if you go to Amazon or Home Depot. You're getting the same level of garbage.
So
if you had gone to the store and bought a real one, it would have still bent.
I will never buy a snow shovel from Amazon again. I mean, who would think that a place named after a rainforest in South America would make good snow shovels?
They name it that way because of the gnats. And the misery that you get yourself into.
Yeah.
And how you can't find your way out of it.
Who can tell if this snow shovel works?
Did you get a bruise?
No, actually, I did not. It was
Wow,
it
you're
was
still
miraculous.
young and malleable.
I did think though, I'm like, man, if this happened when I was 60, I'd be a goner.
Yeah, you would still end up in the bottom of the driveway.
Yeah,
but it'd be like, and you fall, and then your body just starts going.
Well, like
and sliding to the bottom of the driveway.
Can you imagine if, like, when I fell, I try to get back up, and the Sarlacc tentacle grabs onto my ankle.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, Han! He's like, hold on, Lando! And I'm like, who the heck is Lando?
Yeah. And you're just like, at least there's a pretty girl in a bikini up there, and then you just turn and it's one of the monsters.
I was just picturing my wife in full like snow gear, just looking at me, shaking her head.
Yeah.
All disappointed. All right, Garrett. For a man who hates felines, you just got a CAT scan.
Yeah, it's actually not. It's actually long for a CT scan. Computer. I forgot to look it up before.
Yeah,
today.
you did. Yeah, you did.
Tomonology.
Tom and Jerry.
Biscuits, you can clickety clack. Computer tomography.
Yeah,
like
I just pictured you going in for your CAT scan, and you hear the doctor like, "You ready?" And the nurse is cracking up too. They're both laughing. They're like, "You, Mr. Gixel, you ready for your CAT scan?"
And like, do it to me. And
you're just like,
cats spinning around like this, just going, scratching me.
I pictured they duct taped a cat onto a 2x4. And they have me come in a doctor's mask, and I'm just going, zzz,
yeah,
zzz. Like, hey, Garrett,
and I'm like,
how's this CAT scan?
I'm like, this is gonna give me cancer.
I'm like, no, but it's most certainly going to give you 15 years of claw marks. Now hold still.
Yeah, I'm like, you know what? Just remove my face. I'm done. So I'm on a journey to figure out what's wrong with me.
Aren't we all?
Yeah. So I'm toggling back and forth between ADHD tests and like figuring out what's wrong with my inner head. And what's wrong with my outer head, which is like my sinuses and whatnot, because I'm sick all the time.
It's like, dude, what's wrong with your face?
So about 8 months ago, I had a scheduled appointment to scan my sinuses because like it's not draining properly. Something's wrong. Yeah. And I sat in the parking lot, as every good American does, and I Googled.
Yep.
What happens? And I found out that a CAT scan is like, it's comparative to like 2,000 chest x-rays of radiation.
Nice.
So I called Audrey and I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this.
So
I left.
You're telling me the guy from California had an appointment for its CAT scan. He realized it has like 2,000 scans at once with a lot of radiation.
Yeah.
And the guy whose state is trying to ban Skittles says, I'm not getting this done.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Okay, that actually makes a lot of sense.
So fast forward to a couple months ago, and I'm still getting sick, and Audrey's just like, you're getting this. You're getting this CAT scan.
That's awesome.
And I'm like, all right.
Audrey
we had a whole fight about it.
Just takes a bite out of an avocado. You're like, that's it? You're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, just like, why is it crunchy?
What the heck?
She's like, it's organic, just go.
Yeah.
So we had a fight, and I was like, you're forcing me to do this, and she's like, I did nothing of the sort, and I was like, you pressured me, and she's like, I did nothing of the sort. You got up today on your own volition and scheduled this, and I'm like, gosh dang it. So I go in and I'm just like, I just want this done because I just don't want the blame anymore of you're sick, you're not doing everything that humanly possible to figure this out.
Right.
So I go in and I'm like, whatever. I've like 1 in 400 chance of dying of cancer from this. Whatever. I just don't want to fight anymore. I'm gonna die someday anyway. Who cares?
Do you ever get mouth X-rays at the dentist?
Yeah, but that's one. That's one. This is like 2,000 of them, all focused on your head.
And without a cat.
Yeah, and no cats involved. So the machine inside, you go on this little stretcher, and they go.
That was
and start just slowly moving you into this giant circle.
That was extremely profound, man.
Yeah.
The machine inside. Like sometimes I feel like in this country, there's like a machine inside of all of us that causes us to do a bunch of work that isn't actually great for our soul, but the machine's constantly running it like inside.
Yeah, that machine is called Texas.
Oh. Yeah, that machine has a 10-gallon hat, son.
Yeah, and that's how we get our oil.
Yeah.
So so inside of this like big circle, there's like a multitude of X-ray machines. And if you ever look at like the cross section of it, or like a video of the cover off, these machines just go around like this at like
really
warp
fast.
speed, like and just
Really
take
fast.
thousands of scans, X-rays of your head. So I go in, and she's like, "It's very important that you lay absolutely dead still." And I was like, "Why did you say dead like that?"
And she hits you over the head with a hammer.
I'm like, "Ah!"
Yeah.
And so I hear the machine like whirring around me, and I'm like, it's too late now. So I'm like, whatever. Hopefully I get answers out of this. They take me out of the thing. I get off the stretcher, and I look up, and the nurse is like, "So you got any questions for me?" And I was like, "Is this dangerous?" And she's just like, "You get some radiation."
Yeah. She's just like, "Well, it was great seeing you."
Yeah, that's exactly what she did.
Gives
dude.
you a lollipop.
She was
you-
like, I was like, "Is this dangerous?" And she's like, "You get some radiation out of it." So here's the door over here.
Yeah, so
and
here's
she, like,
the door.
points to the door, and I'm like, "Oh God, dude, come on! You're
you-
not being comforting at all."
You get closer, you're like, "Hey, so was this thing dangerous?" And she turns around in a full hazmat suit and backs away a little bit.
She's
It's
like, "I can't hear you. What?"
yeah, it has a little radiation. So anyways, if you just walk out this door right here.
My hand just falls off on the floor.
Yeah. And then you leave the room, and she immediately turns on the emergency shower thing that like dries.
Just douses her.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, she was polite at least, but I could tell that she's not allowed to say that it's safe.
Because it's not.
Yeah, and I'm just like, this sucks.
Yeah.
So I walk out in the hallway, and I saw Jordan, your brother.
At the hospital?
Yeah.
Why?
I'm like, "Hi, Jordan."
What? Wait.
Yeah.
Why was my brother there?
Because he works out there.
Is this at the Avon EMH?
Yeah.
My sister works there.
I'm like,
too.
I look to the side of me, and to the left of me, and to the right of me, and I'm like, "Why are you here?"
Yeah.
And he's just in like his hair's all messed up, and
Yeah.
he's just in like this Under Armour shirt, and I could tell he looked like he had just had like a rigorous workout. And I was like,
Debatable.
"What are you doing?"
Yeah.
And he's just like, "I'm working out." I'm like, "At the CAT scan store?"
Yeah. Why did you say the CAT scan store?
I'm like legitimately confused. Why am I
You're-
seeing this person here?
You're not only just confused, you are tripping because
Yeah.
you just said at the CAT scan store.
Yeah, I'm like, and I look back at the door that I just walked out of, and I'm like, what did they do to me in
Yeah.
there? Am I having hallucinations already?
You walk back and you go back through the door and it's just the children's play area.
Yeah. And then I walk through another door, and it's just Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, but everything's purple.
No, it's Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, but they're in the middle of going down the chocolate river. He's like, and everybody's screaming as we're going. They're like, "Help, save us!" And you're just like, what?
And the Oompa Loompas are rabbits.
Yeah, they're
They're
just,
just like Oompa Loompa Doompity Hop. Your head is going to fall off. And I'm like, why did I do this? And Jordan's like, all right, have a good day.
yeah.
So no, I'm seriously thinking I'm tripping. I'm like, no, seriously, like I'm like, I just had this crazy thing that I was scared of, and now I'm seeing random things that I don't understand.
Yeah.
And he explains to me that like your mom works for the organization, and he gets like, you know, he gets access to this place, like obviously not for free or whatever, but like it's a good deal. And I'm just like, why is there a gym here? And he's just like, I don't know. It's just always been connected. And I was like, you're the wrong person to ask this.
Yeah. I used to go to that gym way back when.
Yeah.
Almost 10 years ago.
Yeah. So then I was like, we had our pleasantries, and like, I love Jordan. He's awesome. And he's just like, are you okay, man? He's like checking in on me. I'm like, why are you at the hospital? I explained the whole thing. And so Yep. Hopefully, I get some answers pretty soon. I don't know. My appointment is tomorrow. He's gonna take a look at what the scan did, and hopefully, I can have my sinuses removed or replaced or something.
It's just Willy Wonka in a doctor's outfit. He's like, now, whatever you do, you must not eat these everlasting gobstoppers.
Yeah. And then I take a bunch of that out of my pocket and put them on his desk, and he's like, "You can have the hat now," and he puts it on my head.
Yeah. And then he looks at your medical chart.
I will have your sinuses.
He looks at your medical chart and he slams it on the table. And you're like, "What's wrong?" He's like, "It's right here, clear as crystal. You lose."
Yeah. And I'm like, "What did I lose?" And my sinuses are just on the table, and there's just kids licking them.
Oh my gosh!
Like, you can eat those. They're candy.
Yeah. They're called Gitchel gobstoppers. Why are they eating your sinuses? What the heck?
Because it's a chocolate factory. I don't know.
I don't know. This is why you're not allowed in the medical field.
Yeah. So update next week. I'll tell you what the doctor said.
Okay.
Yeah.
He said no more monkeys jumping on the bed.
Yeah.
Done.
All right, Seth, are you ready for amazing stories?
Why did it sound like you were falling?
Because I was.
Why did it sound like you were falling down a chasm?
I'm amazed.
Is this why you asked me if you sounded really like reverby when I first got on here?
Yeah.
I picture there's gonna be a time when I'm gonna log onto this thing and the background's just gonna be a circus with a flaming hoop and you're like, guys, stop, put it out.
Yeah.
Hey buddy, did you see anything? And I'm like, no. And you're like, oh good, okay, let's start.
And then you're gonna turn around and you're gonna be inside the Matrix. But the things like are on your head. Okay, so this week for Amazing Stories, I picked one that everybody knows because last time we picked ones that nobody knows. So I figured let's do something that people can follow along to that maybe they know something about.
The worst thing about picking something that everybody knows about is we mess up once and we will get a bunch of hate mail for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah.
At least somebody will email us. Okay, so today we're talking about Apollo freaking 13.
Now, boys and girls, historically, it's actually called Apollo 13, but Garrett is just like a bunch of Gen Alphas right now who like putting freaking in front of the middle, in the middle of every phrase.
That was the secret name of the mission.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Apollo
Get ready
13,
for Apollo freaking 13.
And then they're just inside the cockpit, and they're just like, what'd he say?
10, 9. Yeah, it just starts going.
They're like, I have a bad feeling about this.
Yeah. And C-3PO turns to you. He's like, I don't agree with you, master. You're just like, it's that cat machine store again.
Yeah.
CAT scan store.
I feel better about this mission now. Okay, so Apollo 13 was a manned lunar mission launched from Cape Kennedy, Florida on April 11th, 1970 by a giant Saturn V launch vehicle. This mission was the third mission intended to land humans on the flipping moon. Isn't that amazing?
So what about the rest of the Apollos?
The rest of the Apollos landed on the moon,
but if this is
was
Apollo,
the third one.
But if this is Apollo 13 and there's only 3 of them that landed on the moon, then whatever.
I have a note about that at the end. I actually do.
Oh.
It's weird that you say that, but
Okay.
it's kind of a funny note.
I mean, they're going to poke holes in this, so I might as well.
Yeah. Apollo 13 was piloted by Jim Lovell, the commander, Fred Hayes, the other lucky son of a gun, who was chosen to walk on the moon with Lovell. He was the lunar module pilot. Jack Swigert, the poor sap chosen to stay behind and take care of the command module in lunar orbit, while the other 2 got to go walk on the moon. He was the command module pilot.
Can you imagine being there and they're like, all right, Jack, now you just stay here. We're going to go walk on the moon.
I guarantee you they said that.
Oh my
I guarantee you at
dude,
some point.
I'd be so mad.
Yeah. But at least he knew. Okay, so here's the thing about him, and this is great because I can skip the next stanza. He was actually chosen.
Stanzas for poetry.
Sorry.
Paragraph?
Couple sentences?
I guess.
He was chosen 3 days before the mission because the guy before him who was in his place had got exposed to the measles.
No, that's not what it says. It says Ken Mattingly was exposed to the German measles.
Oh yeah, German measles. Yeah,
You now have the measles.
yeah. He didn't end up having them, but this guy wasn't going to get to go at all.
Yeah, because they didn't want to risk.
Right. So he was, all the way up to the mission. He's like, I have to stay on Earth. I have to do all this work and learn how to pilot this thing, and I don't even get to go.
Can you imagine if someone's like, oh, yeah, I have to stay on Earth? Can you imagine like what type of situation you must be in if someone says that to you?
Yeah. Yeah, you're in this particular group of people, like, I think everything's an honor. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, yeah.
So I think he got an upgrade. So the fact that he didn't get to walk, I don't think he was that sad about it.
Yeah,
This guy Ken, on the other hand, went from not being able to walk on the moon to not going at all. So he got totally just ripped away from him.
So because this happened in the 70s, do you think Ken Mattingly was exposed to the West German measles or the East German measles?
Stop. I don't know what the difference is, but I don't like it.
One measles favors communism, the other one democracy.
It had to be the Western ones.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want them going in. They didn't want them involved in the space program. So,
right.
Of course, it had to be the West.
Yeah.
So anyway, about 2.5 hours after launch, the still attached SIVB third stage rocket module was ignited to provide the final boost towards the moon. The transposition maneuver, that's removing the lunar module, codenamed Aquarius, from the SIVB adapter, was carried out efficiently. I knew you were going to do that at some point.
Yep,
I was just
here it is, man. It didn't get it out of the way. Get out of the way.
And so Apollo 13 was coasting towards the moon on a path so accurate that the first planned course adjustment was canceled. So it got to the point where they were like, all right, it's time for that course adjustment. Got to make sure we're on track. And they just didn't even have to do it because it was going that well. So,
which is always a red flag when you're in when you're with a group of men. Like, yeah, we don't have to do anything. This is just going to run itself, because that's every man's dream, is some system just does it on its own without him having to worry about it.
Or basically anything in life when it's going too well and you're just like, something's going to happen.
The kids have been healthy for a full week now.
Yeah. It's too quiet around here. So one major difference from Apollo 11 and 12 was regarding the area of the moon that the astronauts were to land. So later in the mission, the spacecraft underwent a hybrid transfer maneuver to facilitate landing in a different region called the Fra Mauro region. I will never practice these words before we do this.
Fra Mauro.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. This is known as the highlands or the mountainous regions. So they were intended to go to the mountains of the moon, which is even cooler if you think about it. What would that look like?
Can I take this part?
Absolutely. Go for it.
So on April 12th, the day after launch, that day passed without incident.
Yeah.
My favorite word in all of history when reading history is about to happen.
Yeah.
However.
Yes.
Abraham Lincoln's bodyguard took a break to use the bathroom. All seemed fine. However.
Yeah. What was the name of the play that the Lincolns were watching?
Oh my gosh.
My American.
Oh, clickety clack. The play was Our American Cousin.
Our American Cousin. Yeah. was going quite well and was very funny. However.
That's so bad, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been 250 years. We can joke about it now. When the person would have been dead anyway, it's okay.
I don't think it's been 250 years, pal. I think it's been
150. Sorry.
Yeah, 150. Yeah. However, early on the evening of April 13th, by the way, this was Lincoln was assassinated, I think, on the 14th.
He was?
On April 14th.
Wow,
yeah.
Watch out that
So
day.
Historically, by the way, I want to let you know this. April is one of the worst months historically ever to be alive.
Yeah. We talked about this.
Yeah. A lot of bad things happen in April.
April 13th is Audrey's birthday. Go on.
Okay. Well, this is when Lincoln was killed.
Yeah.
April 14th.
A lot of great things happen.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it says he was assassinated. We're not talking about Lincoln, Seth. We're not talking about Lincoln. However, early on the evening of April 13th, the astronauts encountered an unexpected problem.
Yeah, not the one they expected, an unexpected one.
Yes, yeah. It wouldn't be that they expected it. It was unexpected. At 10:06 p.m., the astronauts were doing routine tasks and checking all the systems for the forthcoming landing. Obviously, a Brit wrote this. Suddenly, as Lovell was moving through the tunnel on his way back from the Aquarius to Odyssey,
yeah, Do you love how it
These
toggles back and
names.
forth between like proper British and my words?
It does.
Yeah, it's like landed on the flippin' moon.
A loud explosion was heard.
And then they checked the forthcoming landing gear.
And the spacecraft rocked back and forth. All three astronauts quickly gathered in Aussie to study the instrument.
You think?
They're looking like, well, this one's obviously a violin, and this one's a cello. All
Yeah, the
instruments seem good.
If we were there, it would be like, what's this one? And then I would just hold up like forceps.
I'm like, Garrett, that's what you hit the triangle with. You know that.
And he'd be like, oh, and then I just throw it out the window and it
Yeah.
just and all the
And
air
all
just
like
goes,
the air goes out, and we're like holding on, and everyone's screaming, and you're just looking embarrassed, and I'm just looking around, just so agitated.
I'm like, you told me to check the instruments, but I can't say it. But nothing comes out because it's the vacuum of space.
Yeah, you just like after loud explosion, you're like, all right, so I got done checking the instruments, and I have to say, pretty disappointed there's no Gibsons on board.
Yeah.
They were checking the instruments to determine what happened, noting that one of the main electrical systems aboard was degrading. Haas, is that how you pronounce his name? Hayes and Lavelle radioed the information.
Level. Hayes and Level. Sorry.
Now it's my turn to be embarrassed.
Yeah. It's okay. It never happens.
Hayes and Lavelle radioed the information to Mission Control in Houston, quickly turning a routine flight into one of the most exciting. Really? Exciting?
It wasn't exciting for them.
And I'm thinking up there like, I'm already mad there's no Gibson guitar, and now I should be excited that this is one of the most exciting episodes in space history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So have you ever said the words,
Houston, we have a problem?
We have a problem.
Yeah.
You're wrong.
Wait, what?
Because that's not what they said.
It says right here, Houston.
annoyed.
Oh,
Yeah.
Houston, we've had a problem.
Yeah. I'm one of those annoying Californians where people say like they're making a joke and I just tap them on the shoulder and I go, actually.
Wait, you could have just stopped that on one of those annoying Californians.
Yeah, I could have stopped there and it'd still be true.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
gosh.
So they say, this is Houston. Say again, please. Which is funny because it's like, what? Basically the emission control equivalent of like, huh?
Yeah, wait. You're not supposed to actually talk to us. We're just here just in case.
Yeah, we're eating chips.
Yeah, like, can you imagine they're all clapping like, yeah. Houston, we've had a problem.
We're dead.
Yeah.
He repeats, Lovell repeats, Houston, we've had a problem. We've had a main bus B bus undervolt, which is so less inspiring.
The janitors.
Almost said less expiring.
The janitor's just mopping the floor, and he's like, they have a what?
Yeah. It's not as glamorous as we've got a problem up here.
So within 8 seconds of the explosion, pressure in one of the service module 2 cryogenic oxygen tanks had dropped to zero. Wow, I sounded smart.
Not good.
Together with the cryogenic hydrogen tanks, they fed the required supplies to the craft's 3 fuel cells, which were needed for the generation of electrical power, oxygen for breathing, and drinking of water.
You know, nothing important.
Yeah, just
when you're
the
in the
stuff
vacuum of space.
Yeah. Lovell, right?
Yep.
Recalls looking out the window and seeing gas venting out in the space.
Yeah. What? Okay, here's my question.
Oh my God.
Here's my question for you, Seth Meyers.
Okay, I'm
in
ready.
2025.
All right.
On planet Earth.
Yes.
What do you say next to your co-pilots, which are me and Jeremy Kilby?
I like that you picked Jeremy. That's awesome.
When you look out the window and you're the one that sees gas leaking into space, what do you turn to us and say?
I just picture us all sitting there, and then I just picture like kind of moving my head towards left, and I just see gas going out. And I just look out and I see, and I look back and I kind of look at both of you two, and I'm like, so how did you spend your summer?
Yeah. You wouldn't tell us.
I wouldn't say a thing. I'd be like, well,
I honestly think there had to have been a moment there where he was like, what do I say?
yeah.
Because the second that he tells them, you know that it's that pit in your stomach feeling.
Mm-hmm.
You know you're going to deliver the news to somebody where that sinking feeling happens, and you're like, we could die.
Yeah, it says he
So-
radioed Houston, alerting to the side of which Houston
so
replied,
terrible.
Roger Odyssey, we copy your venting.
I laughed when I read that. I was like, could you be a little more alarmed?
Yeah,
Or
and I-
think, maybe something a little bit more panicky?
Yeah, and then I just go up and I go to the microphone and be like, oh, I'm not venting yet,
Yeah.
but I'm about to,
But
Houston.
when I get back down there,
Houston, when I get down there, you're going to hear me venting all the way to the hospital.
yeah. All right. I'll take this one. About an hour after the accident, Mission Control announced that we are now looking toward an alternate mission, swinging around the moon and using the lunar module power systems because the situation that's developed here this evening. The astronauts were to move into Aquarius, which would serve as their lifeboat, which is incredibly smart.
Goodness.
While the disabled Apollo 13 swung around the moon and headed homeward, the crew was faced with the reality, after all their hard work, that they would not be landing on the moon.
Oh my goodness.
So disappointing, dude.
Yeah, dude.
I would be so torn apart. But I saw an interview yesterday while I was researching this about Lovell, and he said, honestly, I didn't even think about it. I was just following routine procedures. I wasn't even disappointed till both my feet were back on planet Earth. Then he said, then he got disappointed. But you would think looking down at the window and being like, there she is. Like, there it is. I don't get to walk on there now.
I would have been having a panic attack up in space.
Yeah.
I would have been like, wait, what? You're going to do what?
Apparently he was just, following routine procedure, just, which I think at some point you just have to kind of go dead, just like desensitize. Because otherwise, I don't know how you are in panics, but when
You don't know how I am in panics?
Like in a panic situation, in a crisis, you can freak out and make it worse, or you can just desensitize yourself and then just focus on the problem and try to fix it.
It honestly just depends where I'm at and who I'm around. If it's just me and my wife, I will run around with a chicken, like its head is cut off.
Yeah.
If I'm with my students, I'm literally like, all right, well, let's just keep going.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't matter.
So I'm going to skip down to save us some space here.
Well, that's funny. I hate you. I do want to point out, though, and I really liked this fact, and I read it earlier today when you told me we'd be doing Apollo 13, that it set the record for farthest flight from Earth, and that those astronauts were the guys who have been the furthest away from Earth, because they had to literally slingshot around the moon, so they are the people who have been the furthest in space.
I feel like that was the biggest pity award in the world.
Yeah.
They were like, to make them feel better, like, well, you went farther than the rest of the guys.
Hey, congratulations. You've gone the furthest into space.
Yeah. You were the furthest away from your home.
Yeah.
All right. So it says leaders from all parts of the world voiced concern. And from Soviet Premier Alexei and Nosigin
Great job.
came the message that the Soviet government has given orders to all citizens and members of the armed forces to use all necessary means to render assistance in the rescue of the American astronauts, which I feel like is opposite of what I would have done, because they were in like the space race.
Yeah.
So it should have just been like, America, how's it going up there?
Yeah.
And then just like cracking up. But I think it was cool because it was like, instead of being like, you're our enemies, which we basically were, right? It was like, we're going to help the Americans, which, I wasn't expecting to read, but there it is.
I just don't know if that would happen today.
Right. It would have just been like, good luck getting your astronauts back on Earth.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if today if that would still happen.
Yeah. Did you want to share what you found?
I found nothing.
Okay. Okay. Four Soviet ships began moving toward the planned recovery area, which doesn't look good if you're in 1970s Russian-American relations.
Yeah.
While French and British warships also moved to the rescue. So it was basically like, they're coming back. Every ship, go out to the ocean right now.
Yeah, and there's like a raft from Zimbabwe. Like, well, you heard him.
Just rowing.
He was rowing out there.
The astronauts splash down, and there's just thousands of ships everywhere. And they're like, why are you here?
There's just one raft from like Zimbabwe, and they're like, we'd always answer the call.
And he's like, hop on.
Yeah. You know what?
Like,
I'm going to take the raft.
They're like, we've been in a lifeboat.
Yeah.
For 4 days.
Yeah.
So that was kind of funny. Soon after the spacecraft shot around the moon, it started its long return path to home. Meanwhile, the long-distance discarded SIVB third stage, remember we mentioned earlier when it blasted them towards the moon, back at the Earth, crashed into the moon.
Oh, my gosh.
It had followed the independent trajectory it was set on as part of a planned experiment to cause an artificial moonquake to aid the scientists in... I didn't know this. In understanding the nature of the lunar interior. When the astronauts learned from Houston of the rocket's impact, Swigert radioed back, well, at least something worked on this flight.
They're just...
And it was just a crash.
They're just like, you know what? While we're up here, we might as well crash into the moon and see what happens.
Yeah, the only thing that worked was a crash.
Oh, America.
Yeah.
Re-entry and splashdown. During the morning of April 15th, Apollo 13 entered the region of gravitational influence on Earth. This temperature of the lunar module had dropped to 3 degrees Celsius or 38 degrees Fahrenheit, and condensation covered the walls. The cold, wary astronauts slept fitfully between receiving instructions on the spacecraft separation and re-entry maneuvers they would soon undergo upon approaching Earth.
Yeah, so we skipped this part earlier, which is probably a good thing. But basically, they had to turn off all the major systems in the command module where they were going to be living on the journey to save power for reentry. So they didn't have like heat.
Yeah, that would have been awful.
Which is a little bit of a problem when you're, in outer space
and freezing and hungry. Yeah.
I just remember in like Apollo 13, like there was like one of the astronauts takes a hot dog and it's frozen. He just goes kink kink on the metal.
Yeah,
like hitting it. But yeah, so they were like freezing to death, and they could only drink 6 ounces of water a day.
Jeez.
Because they needed all the power. They needed the power reserves to shut down so that when they powered up the command module, which is the only thing that could get them back through the Earth's atmosphere, when they powered it on, that they had enough power to actually make it through re-entry. So,
well, the first step was to jettison. No doubt, dude. The first step was to jettison the service module, leaving the command and lunar modules joined in configuration never previously flown. The astronauts then moved out to the lunar module and back into the Odyssey, powering up the life support systems that had been shut down in order to conserve power for re-entry. The two modules were then separated as pressure in the connective tunnel forced them apart. There was concern regarding the heat shield having been damaged from the explosion, you think? But even if this was the case, nothing could be done, and so the command module with the astronauts inside continued onward. It entered the Earth's atmosphere.
Who wrote that, do you think? A British person or me?
That was British Garrett.
No, that was me.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hey, good job.
I'm getting better.
Yeah. You spell center with an R-E now, and you feel British.
And then I just put a top hat on my head. I'm like, this is me now.
Every time there's a word with an ER, you change the RD. For example, it says here, it entered Earth's, and entered, you spell it ENTRED or something like that. It entered Earth's atmosphere and splashed down on target on April 17th at 1:07 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You mean American Standard Time.
Yeah.
142 hours, 54 minutes, and 41 seconds from the time its huge Saturn V rocket had roared to life. The astronauts had no lasting ill effects from the ordeal.
I love
Are
how
you
it
sure?
just ended so cold. Like,
Yeah.
like it didn't affect them at all.
Yeah.
Like, the astronauts didn't even notice
Yeah,
that they were almost dying.
And then one's like, I really need counseling. And they just pat him on the head. They're like, you didn't notice a thing.
Yeah, you're fine. Shake it off.
Yeah.
They're like, you almost killed us. So there's a story about Jim Lovell. They asked him if he wanted to go back. Because, they give people like a second chance. They're like, well, you didn't get to walk on the moon, but you're a good candidate to try. Would you like to go up again? And it was in front of everybody in a crowd of people. And he tells a story about like how for a second he was excited because he was like, oh, I might actually get to do this. And then he looked and his wife was there and she was just doing this with a thumbs down.
Yeah.
And then he turned back to the reporter and was like, yeah, I think I'm going to stay here.
Yeah. So at the end of it all, the thing that didn't get him on the moon was his wife.
Yeah. This is a hilarious chart that I found. It's like the different Apollo missions you mentioned in the earlier bit of this segment, like why it was numbered this way. And I still don't know, but it says right here, it says the numbering of the Apollo missions began with the 4th subsequent uncrewed test flight. Apollo 4, Apollo 5, and 6 were also uncrewed flights. So there was no Apollo 2 or 3.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that's what I said.
So Apollo 1, Apollo 7.
So 4, 5, and 6 were unmanned. So
Okay.
there was nobody on them. And it just says there was no Apollo 2 or 3.
Oh.
Like, Apollo 1 was the one where they died in the test portion of it. Like, it was 100% oxygen, and they died in the fire before it even took off.
Nice.
So they just decided, we're not going to do 2, we're not going to do 3, we're just going to start at 4. So...
I like how it has an image of the moon where it says where all the Apollo landings like happen on the moon.
Yeah.
And then they're in like little yellow circles in the moon. And then there's this giant yellow circle around the moon.
Yeah.
It's like, can you guess which one this was?
Are you looking at the chart?
Yeah.
Look how it says Apollo 7. It says first crewed Apollo mission, and then 8. First to fly around the moon, and then it says 9. To test the lunar module in Earth's orbit. 10. Rehearsal for the first moon landing. Apollo 11, first to land and walk on the moon. Apollo 12, first precision landing on the moon. And then it says Apollo 13, survived oxygen tank explosion. Like as the highlight of it.
Survived.
And then it goes on, Apollo 14 landed in the Lunar Highlands. Like it just moves on.
Apollo 15, Seth and Garrett were aboard. They were jettisoned immediately.
Yeah. So basically, in like a 1-minute summary, these chuckle nuggets dropped the oxygen tank when they were making it.
Oh.
They found out later through the investigation that these, I don't even know, that was the most creative thing I could call them. Dropped this oxygen tank, and it had this like tube, like a metal tube that was supposed to push liquid oxygen out of the tube by boiling it.
Right.
It damaged the tube, and then they were told to change a temperature sensor because there was different voltages on this flight. They didn't change it.
Oh my gosh.
So the computer was reading a certain temperature on the damaged tube that was melded together, fused together.
Yeah.
As they were trying to push the liquid oxygen through the tank, and it was like, oh, it's fine. It's only 80 degrees. But meanwhile, it was 1,000 degrees, like 1,000 degrees Celsius.
Oh my gosh.
It exploded. And it blew out the entire, like if you look it up, you can see the picture they took of the command module floating away into space. It's like the entire side of the spacecraft is just blown apart.
Oh my gosh.
And it doesn't even say that they were fired. Like if you look into it.
They went on to Apollo 14.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here's the end of the story. At the end of August, NASA announced that future Apollo command service modules would be modified so as to enhance their potential use in an energy mode. Mm-hmm. Among the modifications were the installation of a 400 amp hour battery in the service module that could be used as an alternative power source should a primary system fail again. So basically, they started sending them up with an extra battery.
Oh, good. I got these double A's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The end.
The end. Well, Banter Biscuits, if you guys haven't already, please click like and subscribe wherever you're listening to and give us a 5-star review so we can be made more, how can I say, known to everybody out there.
So, see that little button? Click it.
Take care.